Welcome back, everyone, to The Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
This is where we dig into the complex ideas, the research, the philosophies you send our way, and, well, we try to make sense of it all.
We boil it down, give you that shortcut to really understanding things, especially the stuff that matters for living a full, maybe even demanding life.
And that demanding, high-energy life is exactly what's on the table today.
Mm.
We're doing a deep dive into something that feels like a real modern puzzle. How do you actually bring deep presence, that sense of being, into a world that just keeps yelling at you to do more, faster?
Yeah, the constant tension, isn't it?
Mhm.
Integrating that stillness when everything around you is moving at lightning speed.
It's a huge question for, I think, anyone listening who feels that push and pull, the desire to be present versus the reality of your schedule.
Right. And there's this common idea, maybe a belief we pick up, that mindfulness means you have to slow way down, stop even.
But the source material we're looking at today, it really pushes back on that.
Hard. It does. It suggests presence isn't really about your speed of activity. It's about your inner relationship to what's happening, to time itself.
So our mission, our goal for this dive is to unpack that relationship between doing and being.
And show a path where they don't just coexist, maybe awkwardly, but actually merge.
Even if you're constantly on the move, like traveling, writing, talking, working.
Especially then, that's the surprising part.
Okay, so that's the shortcut we're offering you today. A way to understand how you can be incredibly active, busy, efficient.
But still feel completely anchored,
Mm.
rooted in the now.
How do you pull that off? Maintain a high-functioning life, but stay connected to that deeper sense of just being. It feels like a paradox.
It does. And the sources actually give us a fantastic, really old framework for this, from Zen.
Oh.
It's the core idea we need to explore today. Hurry slowly.
Hurry slowly. Okay, right off the bat, that sounds like well, a contradiction, doesn't it?
Exactly. That's why it's such a powerful teaching phrase.
Because if I'm hurrying, my heart rate's up. My mind's probably racing ahead, focusing on getting there, whatever there is.
Mhm.
And if I'm slow, yeah, I'm relaxed, maybe present, but probably not getting much done if there's a deadline. So what does hurry slowly actually mean in practice?
It forces us to rethink mindfulness.
Yeah.
It's not about literally moving slowly, like you said, or just stopping everything.
Okay.
The sources describe it more like maintaining a state of high energy.
Right.
Well, and this is the key, remaining present with every single movement, every action.
I'm thinking about practical stuff here, like I'm rushing for a meeting or trying to catch a train. Normally my head is just full of what ifs. What if I'm late? What if I mess up? That future stuff just pulls me right out of the moment.
Absolutely, it does. That future obsession, the worry, the planning, that's what breaks the presence.
So hurry slowly means...
It means you're not excessively focused on some future point.
Right.
Your body might be moving fast. Your fingers typing quickly. You might be, running for that train. But your awareness, it stays right here, in the now. The energy of the action is high, definitely, but the internal feeling is one of rest, stillness.
Can we make that more concrete? Like imagine driving in awful traffic. You need to get somewhere important. The doing is intense, right? Watching cars, changing lanes, checking the time.
Very intense, high stakes, potentially.
What's the internal being state that stops you from just losing it? From road rage or just sheer panic?
The internal state has to be one where you're observing all that activity, the driving, maybe the frustration of other drivers, your own urge to speed up, but you're not identified with it.
Ah, okay. Not swept away by it.
Exactly. The sources put it beautifully.
Yeah.
On the outside, you hurry, but on the inside, you rest in being. Your mind is quiet enough to let you drive safely, make the needed reactions, but it's not adding that extra layer of commentary. The judgment, the anxiety about what if I'm late, that second layer is what causes the suffering. Activity without that added anxiety, that's the merger.
And presumably, if you achieve that, the quality of what you're actually doing improves. Because you're not wasting energy fighting yourself internally.
Precisely, which leads to a really powerful statement in the source material, something that should make us pause.
What's that?
It says, if you had to choose which state to be lost in, it's actually better to be lost in being than lost in doing.
Better to be lost in being. Why is being lost in doing considered like the bigger danger, existentially speaking?
Because when you're totally lost in doing, you become completely identified with the stream of tasks, goals, outcomes. It's all external.
Right.
And that path, as we see everywhere in modern life, often leads straight to burnout anxiety, feeling like life has no meaning. You essentially become just a function of your productivity.
Your value is tied to what you churn out.
Exactly. The activity dictates who you are. It's reactive.
That sounds like, well, the modern condition, doesn't it? Always running, terrified to step off the treadmill because maybe our whole identity is tied to the running.
It really is. Now, being lost in being, maybe you forget a task for a moment. It just means you're so deeply present that the external stuff fades briefly. The risk to your core self is minimal.
But being lost in doing.
The risk there is you lose yourself completely. You just become part of the machine.
So to get this merger going, we need a clear idea of what counts as doing. It's not just physical work, is it?
No, the sources broaden that definition quite a bit. Things like talking, traveling, writing, speaking. These are all active engagements. They're forms of doing.
They take energy, effort, moving things around, whether it's ideas or your body.
Right. But here's a fascinating twist, especially for those of us who communicate a lot.
Okay.
The source material points out that even significant doing, like giving a speech or writing an article, can actually be primarily about pointing the way to being.
So the intention behind the action changes everything.
It's absolutely crucial. If you're writing just to, say, get likes or hit a sales number, reacting to pressure, that's probably pure doing driven by the ego. But if you're writing or you're speaking or teaching, even though it takes effort, it's still an action. If it comes from a place of wanting to guide awareness, to point yourself or others back towards presence.
Then the doing itself becomes a vehicle for being, not an obstacle.
Exactly. It becomes a conduit. The activity is still there, the pace might still be high, but the inner compass shifts. It's not just about hitting a future goal anymore.
It's about being fully present while moving towards that goal. And that shift inside, that's where the merging starts.
That's the doorway.
Yeah.
Now, to really get how this merger works, we have to look inside. Where does the doing actually start?
Okay.
The main place we get lost isn't really in the external tasks themselves, it's in the mind.
And the source material gives us that incredibly sharp definition. Thinking is the primordial form of doing.
Yes.
Let's unpack that for a second. Primordial doing. It reframes thought not as passive, just happening to us, but as the very first action, the root of all the other effort.
Precisely. Think about any external doing. Building something, running errands, managing a project. What comes first?
Not planning, worrying, figuring things out, remembering stuff.
Exactly. Mental activity. Thinking is the engine that drives all that external effort and often the feeling of separation. If your mind is just constantly churning, calculating, judging, planning the next 10 things,
That internal rush.
that is the primordial doing. And that internal state inevitably spills out, creating external chaos and hurry.
So if we feel overwhelmed by everything we have to do externally, that's really just a symptom.
It's mostly a symptom of the mind running wild internally.
Like trying to mop the floor while the faucet's still gushing. The real issue is the source, the mind.
That's a great analogy. Getting lost in the thinking, lost in the mind. That's the source of feeling lost in all the external stuff.
Which explains why it's so hard at the beginning. When you first start seeking presence, we tend to, wall it off.
Yeah, we compartmentalize being. It's often the necessary first step for most people. Well, the sources point out 3 common ways people first find presence, usually in separate compartments.
Okay, like what?
One is formal meditation practice. Sitting still, deliberately pulling attention away from thoughts.
Right, the cushion time.
2 is getting out in nature. Somewhere the mind tends to quiet down more naturally.
Always feels easier there.
And 3, maybe just sitting alone in your room.
Yeah.
A quiet space, free from demands.
And those experiences, even if they are separate, are incredibly important, right? The source calls them a huge gain in consciousness.
Oh, absolutely massive.
Yeah.
When you do that, you actually feel stillness. You experience that dimension of being that's beyond just your thoughts and your personality. You get a taste of real peace.
You realize, oh, I'm not just this voice in my head.
Exactly. It's a breakthrough. But then comes the problem, the plateau we all hit.
Yeah. The moment you leave the quiet room or get off the cushion and walk back into, say, a busy family kitchen or demanding office.
Poof. It vanishes. The sources say you easily lose yourself again in the doing.
Back to square one. Just as caught up in the rush, the mental chatter, the external pressures as anyone else.
Until you can retreat back to your safe compartment. Your meditation spot, your walk in the woods.
So the real challenge isn't just finding stillness in those special moments. It's about how to keep it or access it when life is coming at you full speed. How do we go from the separated compartment to, well, integration, that hurry slowly state.
The path forward, the real aim, is for those two dimensions, the doing and the being, to gradually merge.
Gradually. Okay, so not an overnight fix.
Definitely not. It's a process,
Yeah.
an unfolding. And what the merger looks like is, even when the activity is intense, you're not totally lost in it.
How does that feel if I'm, say, juggling urgent emails and phone calls? What's it like to not be totally lost in that?
It feels like there's space around the activity, inside you. So you're dealing with that urgent email, you're reading, thinking, typing, doing what's necessary. But there's also this quiet background awareness. The being dimension is still there, just observing the process. There's no big personal drama attached to the urgency.
The focus is sharp, but the internal pressure cooker isn't boiling over.
Exactly. You're handling the demand, but you're not defined or consumed by the potential emotional fallout. You're not creating extra suffering around it.
And the result, the source says, is being able to deal with things without becoming crazy, which sounds pretty appealing.
It's a functional sanity in a world that often seems designed to provoke the opposite.
True functionality, because the energy goes into the task, not into fighting yourself about the task.
Right. That capacity for inner rest, even while the outside is high energy, that's the sign of the merged state. And to really grasp this, it helps to think spatially about consciousness, about where it sits in relation to our thoughts.
Okay, thinking spatially. To help us get a handle on this inner rest, this being state, the source material uses a kind of map and analogy about space. If thinking is the problem, where does being fit in?
Yeah, it's a really useful visual. It places our normal human thought, our identification with thinking, as a kind of primary layer.
Okay.
When you become present, when you access that state of being, the description is often that you rise above thought.
Above it, like floating over clouds?
Sort of, yeah. Imagine thought is this thick, busy layer of clouds. Presence is like the clear, silent sky above those clouds.
I like that.
And sometimes the source says being isn't just above, it actually envelops it all. It's the space in which the thoughts happen, but it's not made of thought. It doesn't depend on it.
So for us humans, trapped in our heads, the goal is to rise above thought. That's the way out of that primordial doing.
That's the path to reclaiming presence, yes. But what's really mind-bending and gives us huge perspective is what the source material places below that human thought layer.
Below thought. What's below thought?
Forms of consciousness that are deeply connected to being, but operate without the kind of conceptual, self-aware thinking we do.
Okay, examples.
The sources give us really concrete ones, starting with, say, the dog.
Oh, okay. Man's best friend.
Right. The dog is conscious, obviously. It's highly aware of its surroundings. Its senses are sharp.
But it doesn't do thinking like we do.
Not in the same way. It doesn't seem to have this constant internal narrator running an opinion about itself, or about other dogs, or about you.
That human opinion engine, as you called it earlier, always judging, comparing, creating stories about the past, worrying about the future.
That's the bulk of our primordial doing. It drains so much energy. The dog, existing below thought, doesn't have that layer.
So it just is.
It seems to be much closer to pure, unedited experience. If it's happy, it's just happy. If it's afraid, it's just fear. There isn't that secondary internal commentary. Why am I happy? Should I be afraid? What will others think of me being afraid?
Wow. Okay, connecting that back to our listener trying to hurry slowly, if we could just drop that constant internal commentary about our performance or how we look or what someone thinks of our work.
Think of the mental energy that would free up. Huge amounts. It would make hurrying slowly much more possible because the hurry wouldn't be amplified by internal judgment.
The dog shows us awareness is possible without all that mental baggage.
Exactly. Awareness without judgment. But the sources push us even deeper. Below the dog.
Deeper than the dog.
Yeah. Think about a tree. Plants.
Okay.
They're described as being very deeply still connected with being.
A tree has consciousness. I mean, it's alive, but...
It has a form of consciousness, yes. But its awareness is so different, so slow, so diffuse. It's almost impossible for our fast-paced minds to really conceive of it. It's not self-aware like us. It's just presence. Deep, non-egoic presence.
It doesn't think about being a tree or worry about getting enough sunlight tomorrow.
Doesn't seem so.
No.
Yet it's deeply rooted in the intelligence of life itself, the unmanifested. The sources even say the tree is even more peaceful than the dog. It embodies this profound, ancient stillness.
Okay, I see the practical point here. It shows that this state of being, the stillness we're trying to access by rising above thought, it's not some weird, unnatural state we have to invent.
Oh.
It's the fundamental reality. It's already here, underlying everything, even in these very deep, non-conceptual levels like a tree. We're not creating it, we're just tuning into it,
Right.
reconnecting with it.
Exactly. We're uncovering what's already present. And this isn't some new age idea either.
No.
The sources point out that many ancient cultures knew this. They recognized this deep stillness in nature. Certain trees, for example, were considered sacred.
Not just superstition.
Not entirely. It suggested that people back then might have had a different kind of sensitivity. They weren't quite so mind-dominated as we tend to be now.
They could feel things we've maybe lost touch with, like energy fields.
That seems to be the idea. Before human awareness got so thoroughly tangled up in conceptual thought, in labeling everything, people could perhaps directly sense the field of stillness, the peace, emanating from something like a huge ancient tree. They felt the deep stillness in which the tree exists.
Yep.
And because they felt it, they revered it. They could connect with the trees being on its own terms.
So the modern tragedy is that by becoming so identified with our thinking minds, we've kind of built this wall, a conceptual fortress around ourselves.
Precisely.
And that wall makes it almost impossible to sense that deeper, pervasive stillness that the tree embodies. We just see the label tree and miss the reality.
That's the veil we need to talk about next. The veil of concepts, right? That conceptual fortress, that veil is the barrier we need to understand. If this profound stillness is literally all around us, in the dog, the tree, even in the silence between sounds, why don't we feel it most of the time?
Because, as the source says, when we, modern humans, look at a tree, or anything really, we look through your mental concept.
Yes, conceptual knowing.
Yeah.
And the moment that happens, it creates distance, separation.
How does that work? The source talks about a labeling process.
It's almost instantaneous. The moment you mentally label something, oh, that's a tree, or that's an oak tree, or that's my difficult boss, the veil has already come up between you and it.
The veil is the label, the concept, the mental file.
Exactly. And that leads straight to this powerful illusion. The feeling that you know what it is just because you've slapped a label on it.
Right. We mistake the map for the territory. The concept tree isn't the living, breathing, deeply still tree itself.
Not even close. You mentioned your colleague earlier, Bob, the difficult project manager. Once you apply that label, you stop experiencing the actual person in this moment and start interacting purely with your pre-existing mental file about Bob.
Which might be completely outdated or just plain wrong.
Or at least incomplete. Conceptual knowing is the mind's strategy for dealing with reality. Cut it into pieces, label the pieces, put them under a mental microscope, analyze them, compare them.
Which is useful for science, for technology, for getting things done in the material world.
Incredibly useful for that. But it completely obscures the other dimension, the dimension of being, of direct, unmediated connection.
So conceptual knowing, labeling, analyzing, it's a primordial doing applied to how we even perceive things. It's constant mental effort that actually stops us from truly connecting.
That's a very sharp way to put it.
Yes.
It locks us firmly in the world of thought and form, and the space of stillness remains hidden, seemingly inaccessible.
So the big question then is, how do we get to that deeper knowing the source talks about, the knowing that goes beyond the label?
The deeper dimension is described as being able to be with a tree and join with the tree.
Okay, join with the tree. What does that mean practically? If I'm standing in my backyard looking at an oak, how do I join with it instead of just labeling it?
It means shifting your focus. Instead of focusing on the label oak tree and all the thoughts associated with it, needs pruning, nice shade, etc., you shift your attention to the space around the tree, the stillness that holds the tree. And crucially, you become aware of the corresponding stillness inside yourself.
Ah, so it's about finding that shared silence.
Exactly. It's an act of shared presence. You're not thinking about the tree anymore. You're resting in your own inner awareness, your own being, and you allow the tree to meet you there in that quiet, non-conceptual space. It's like a silent recognition of a shared source, a shared intelligence.
You step out of the analytical part of the brain and just sense the aliveness, the presence, the unmanifested intelligence, as the source puts it, that the tree grew out of.
Precisely. And the source material gives very direct advice here, even mentioning the author's book, Stillness Speaks.
What's the core advice?
Simply put, allow nature to teach you stillness.
Because nature, the tree, the flower, the dog already exists in that state, below thought, free from the veil we put up.
Exactly. Nature is the perfect, patient teacher. It doesn't argue. It just is.
So we could take something simple, like the source mentions, a real flower. Not a picture, but a physical flower.
Yes.
And just look at it, contemplate it, but not analyze it.
Right. Look at it, sense it, feel its presence,
Yeah.
without needing to name it or think about its species or its color in words. As you do that, as you become quiet inside, you might start to become aware that this simple flower exists within that deep stillness.
You're not just seeing the form, the petals and stem.
We're sensing the invisible intelligence, the life force that manifested as that form. And when you rest in your own inner being, your own stillness,
You connect with the being of the flower in that shared space.
that's the deeper knowing. That's the true joining. It bridges the gap. It connects the above-thought presence in you with the below-thought reality of the natural world, completely sidestepping that busy, labeling mind that keeps us separate.
And knowing that shared stillness exists, feeling it even briefly, that must be the anchor, right? The foundation that helps you stay present even when you have to go back to the world of doing and hurry slowly.
That's the anchor. You've touched the unchanging stillness that underlies all the change and movement. #outro.
Okay, let's try and pull the main threads together from this deep dive. We really started by challenging that common idea, that myth that you have to be slow to be mindful.
Right. The core idea is you can have this high-energy presence, that paradox. Hurry slowly, where the outside is active, maybe even rushed.
But the inside, your internal state, is resting. It's calm. It's in being.
And the goal isn't just finding presence in special quiet times, but letting that being gradually merge with your doing, breaking down those compartments.
And we saw the main obstacle is often our own mind, the constant thinking, labeling, judging what the source is called the primordial doing.
That creates the veil of concepts, stopping us from seeing things as they truly are.
Exactly. It hides the deeper knowing, the connection. But we learned that stillness isn't something we create from scratch.
No, it's fundamental. It's there above thought when we become present, and it's also deeply present below thought in things like a dog or, even more profoundly, a tree. Recognizing that pervasive stillness, learning to sense it, moving beyond just the labels, that's the key.
It's shifting from just analyzing to allowing a kind of silent awareness.
And that deep stillness, once you connect with it, becomes your anchor. It lets you navigate the doing world effectively without getting swept away with the stress and the rush.
Okay, so here's a final thought, something for you, the listener, to take into your busy day. Thinking about hurry slowly and getting beyond that veil of concepts. Pick one specific moment today that usually feels high stakes or rushed. Maybe it's a difficult conversation, a looming deadline, maybe just driving in traffic.
Okay.
Can you try, just for that moment, to intentionally do the action while consciously resting in that inner space of being? Drop the label, drop the story about it, drop the judgment about the outcome, and just be present with the action itself.
And maybe also reflect on that quiet world below thought we talked about. Which image resonates more with you as a symbol of that peaceful, non-conceptual consciousness? Is it the non-judgmental presence of the dog? Or the deep, profound stillness of the tree?
See if you can use that image, whichever one connects, as your touchstone, your anchor back to stillness when things start feeling chaotic.
A reminder to hurry slowly.
Exactly. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive.
We'll be back soon with another exploration. Until then,
Hurry slowly.